Hey everyone, it's Nico from the blog documentingsimpleliving.com, where I talk about simplifying food, self-care, and consumption in the modern world. Today I am going to be making sourdough flatbreads, and this is a no-wait recipe. So what that means is that you don't need to wait for the sourdough to ferment. You can just put all the ingredients together and have flatbread ready in 15 minutes. So to make these flatbreads, what you need to do is first combine 1.5 cups of all-purpose flour. Now, the flour I'm using today in this video is a bit different. It's a new flour I'm trying out. It's a organic malthouse flour that I recently bought. I haven't tried making much of anything with it quite yet, so I'm testing it out with these flatbreads. So that's why it doesn't really look like all-purpose. It's because it's not. But I've made these before with all-purpose and they're really delicious. So I'd recommend you go with an organic all-purpose flour. So you need 1.5 cups of organic all-purpose flour, and then to that add about 1 cup of sourdough discard. Now you can also use just mature starter. And then add a teaspoon of salt and 1/3 cup of milk. If you want to make these dairy-free, you can just use water instead of milk in the recipe. Milk helps the flatbreads be a bit more pliable, but water works great as well. After the dough is combined, split the dough into 6 different pieces and roll them into balls. And then use a rolling pin to roll them flat. I have tried to just use my hands and sort of stretch the dough out to make it work for this recipe, but it does work best if you can use something to roll your flatbreads out flat. Now you want to heat up a cast iron skillet super hot and then put one of the flatbreads onto the skillet for about a minute and a half, or until it's getting brown, and then use a flipper to flip it over and wait until it's browning on the other side. Usually takes about a minute on the other side, and then you have your flatbread. If you do want to long ferment this recipe, all you need to do is combine the mature starter, the flour, and the salt. Combine it all into a dough and then let it sit on your counter for about 8 hours, and then incorporate the milk, and you can go from there. You can't really use sourdough discard to long ferment this recipe because sourdough discard doesn't have the full fermentation benefits that a mature starter does, because it's what you're getting rid of as you're building up your starter. If you have a gluten sensitivity, I would recommend that you wait until you have a mature starter, and then you can long ferment this recipe, and that way you have all the fermentation benefits that come with sourdough. do sometimes add minced garlic to the dough, so just mince up about 2 cloves of garlic and incorporate it into the dough before putting it on the cast iron skillet. That way you have a bit of a garlic flavor in your flatbread. Or you could do the same with shredded cheese, like a shredded cheddar, or shredded Parmesan would be really delicious. Shred up some really sharp cheddar or some hard Parmesan and incorporate that into your dough and then fry it up on the cast iron skillet. These will last about 2 to 3 days on the counter in an airtight container, and you can of course freeze them. I would recommend just putting a piece of parchment paper in between each flatbread before you put it into the freezer, just to make defrosting a bit easier. If you would like to bookmark this recipe for later or print it off, I will put a link straight to the blog post that corresponds with this video in the description below. Thank you so much for stopping by today, and I'll speak to you in the next Documenting Simple Living video.